Now, Manchester City were dealt a huge blow this past weekend after Rodri'S suffered an ACL tear in their 2-2 draw against Arsenal. Now, if I'm being entirely honest, Rodri has been unbelievably dominant for Manchester City and Spain to a certain extent, winning the Euros with them this past summer. So watching him go down injured is very, very upsetting because a player in such a prime of his career getting this severe of an injury, I just hope he gets back to the form he was once at. But nevertheless, we can't ignore the fact that this is going to have a negative impact on Manchester City, and if you are not a Manchester City fan, it's not good news, but like kind of good news, I don't know. And yeah, Manchester City losing Rodri is obviously a big setback for them. Anyone who disagrees with that is an idiot. He is arguably one of the most impactful players in their team, and it's going to be a huge miss for them. But we can't ignore the fact that a lot of fans seem as though this is it for Manchester City, and that Arsenal are the favorites to win the Premier League as a result. Now, me personally, I thought Arsenal were going to win the Prem prior to this happening. They were my pick at the beginning of the season. And looking at it from the perspective that I thought Arsenal were going to win with a healthy Rodri at Manchester City, obviously with him going down injured, I think that their chances are increased. As well for Liverpool. Liverpool have played very well this season outside of our 1-0 defeat against Nottingham Forest. However, I do question the longevity picking up losses against Forest. I mean, come on, we can't be doing that if we're going to challenge for a title. But what I think a lot of people are overestimating is the impact that this will have on Manchester City. Like I said, Rodri is a huge star, and he's been very, very positive for City in the past couple of seasons. But I think what people are misinterpreting is City and Pep Guardiola's ability to pivot whenever they're faced with adversity. Last season, they missed out on Kevin De Bruyne for a majority of the season due to injuries. And now KDB was able to come back to Manchester City in the winter, and they went on to win the Premier League. But sometimes I feel as though when you have these marquee players go down, a lot of the times it's overemphasized the impact that it will have on the team. Guardiola always has a backup plan, and when you look at that midfield and the depth that they have in that midfield, they have Kovacic. We've seen John Stones play a role at holding midfield, or even in like a pivot role at center back. And then you add in Rico Lewis as well. They definitely have depth for Rodri going down injured. And I think that a lot of the style of play that Manchester City plays goes through Rodri. I think that they will have to shift the style of play, but I don't necessarily think that this will have a drop-off. I think just how they go into games against their opponents, I honestly and truthfully believe that they will shift the way they play drastically. And now look, if I'm being honest, I think that this will probably affect Manchester City in Europe more than it will affect them in the Premier League. And why do I think this? Obviously, in the beginning of the Champions League, I think Manchester City will advance to the knockout stages. However, once they start playing the Real Madrids, Liverpools, Arsenals, Bayern Munich, the top teams in Europe, I think not having Rodri is going to be more obvious. Or rather, in the Premier League, even without Rodri, most of the competition that they're going to play, you would expect Manchester City to get over the line even without Rodri. So yeah, I do think that Rodri impacts City in a very, very negative way. But do I think they're finished? I think people are foolish to think as though this changes the title impact that drastically. It doesn't to a certain extent because it's one of City's best players. But City are going to pivot from this. They're going to change how they approach games. And if you think that Pep Guardiola is going to roll over and die like this, you're sadly mistaken. But if you're an Arsenal or a Liverpool fan, I definitely think that Manchester City losing a player like this to injury is big at your title hopes. I just hope that Rodri isn't too affected from a career perspective and he's able to recover from this. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, click that notification bell, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.